The Lost Colony of Roanoke Part 1, Dreams of the New World. Soft, calm narration begins. Our story begins across the Atlantic Ocean, in the court of Queen Elizabeth I of England, during the 1580s. England was emerging as a naval power, and the Queen's advisors dreamed of establishing colonies in the New World, that vast and mysterious land that Spain had been exploring and claiming for decades. One man, in particular, held this dream close to his heart. Sir Walter Raleigh was a favorite of Queen Elizabeth, a poet, explorer, and courtier with grand ambitions. In 1584, Raleigh received something extraordinary from the Queen, a royal charter granting him permission to explore and colonize lands in North America. The charter was generous, giving Raleigh rights to all the land he could claim, as long as it wasn't already occupied by Christian nations. It would remain valid for 6 years. Raleigh wasted no time. That same year, in 1584, he organized an expedition to scout suitable locations for an English settlement. 2 ships set sail under the command of Philip Amatus and Arthur Barlow, experienced sailors who would search the coastline for the perfect place to establish England's first permanent foothold in the Americas. After crossing the Atlantic, the expedition arrived at the outer banks of what is now North Carolina. The explorers were enchanted by what they found. Barlow later wrote glowing reports of the land, describing it as having the most pleasant and fertile soil, with sweet-smelling cedars and abundant wildlife. The beaches were filled with flocks of birds, and grapevines grew so thick they climbed to the tops of trees. The English explorers encountered the indigenous people of the region, the Algonquian-speaking tribes who had lived on these lands for generations. The Native Americans were initially welcoming and curious about these pale-skinned strangers who arrived in their great wooden ships. 2 notable individuals from the local tribes, Manteo and Wanchese, were persuaded to return to England with the explorers. This decision would prove significant in the years to come. When the expedition returned to England, Raleigh was thrilled with the reports. He presented his findings to Queen Elizabeth, and in her honor, he named the territory Virginia, after the Virgin Queen herself. The name would encompass a vast region, far larger than the present-day state of Virginia, stretching along much of the Atlantic coast. Encouraged by the positive reports, Raleigh began planning a full colonial expedition. In April of 1585, he sent a fleet of 7 ships carrying approximately 600 men across the ocean. This would be England's first serious attempt at establishing a permanent colony in North America. The expedition was led by Sir Richard Grenville as the fleet commander, with Ralph Lane appointed as the governor of the new colony. The fleet arrived at the Outer Banks in the summer of 1585, and the colonists established their settlement on Roanoke Island. The island was a strategic location, positioned in the Pamlico Sound between the mainland and the Barrier Islands. It was approximately 12 miles long and 3 miles wide, covered with forests and surrounded by waters teeming with fish. However, this first colony faced immediate challenges. The timing of their arrival was unfortunate. They had come too late in the season to plant crops, which meant they would be dependent on supplies from England and trade with the Native Americans to survive. Ralph Lane, the governor, was a military man, not a farmer or diplomat, and his approach to leadership would soon create tensions that rippled through the fragile settlement. The colonists quickly built a fort and basic shelters, but the relationship with the indigenous people began to deteriorate. What had started as cautious curiosity and trade slowly transformed into suspicion and conflict. The English colonists, numbering over 100 men who remained after Grenville departed, were consuming resources faster than they could replenish them. They began to pressure the Native Americans for food and supplies, straining the initial goodwill.